Hello and welcome back. Thanks for joining. Today we want to cover a very juicy topic and let's talk about homeschooling. And I know most of you will say, well, done that. Most of you who have kids and had to homeschool them during COVID, yes, I had to do the same for my daughter. This is not what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the homeschooling you get forced to. I want to talk about homeschooling that you do voluntarily. And most of the Germans would say, well, homeschooling, this is illegal in Germany. Why do we even want to talk about it? Yes, you are right. However, Germany is one of a few countries in Europe that does not allow homeschooling. Many of the European countries does. And of course, the reason why I bring this up is also because in the US, it's very popular, especially after COVID. The number of people homeschooling their kids has increased. I think at the moment it's around 6% of all the kids in the age of K to grade 12 get homeschooled outside of the regular school system. So therefore, I think it is an important topic, and probably for those of you who have never experienced homeschooling so far, except of course during COVID, maybe can learn something about the reasons, the pros and cons. Therefore, let's just jump into the topic and let's talk about it. So a friend of mine who is German, so which means she grew up in Germany and went to a German school. She moved to the US. She now has 4 kids and 3 of them are in the age to go to school, and she is homeschooling them. And of course, I ask her some questions on why and how, and how does the daily routine looks like. So now I will include her experience into the discussion today, also to give some information on pros and cons. And of course, everyone has to decide for themselves if it fits best to their lifestyle or to homeschool, or maybe to go to a regular school, public school or private school, whatever you decide for your child. But let's basically start with the pros and also the reason my friend gave to me why she has decided on homeschooling. So it started basically also for her, it started with COVID. So during COVID, also the schools in the US closed their doors and the kids had to be homeschooled by the parents mainly, or you hired a tutor. I just remember for my situation, my husband and I, we both work full time. So we worked from home by that, of course, because the offices were closed. And my daughter was in 1st grade. She was barely able to read. I usually sat with her at the dining table, and then she was doing her homework or her stuff, and I was working at the same time. And usually I worked very early in the morning already, and then I sat with her, and then when she was done with her stuff, I continued my work in order to get everything done. But I assume you experienced similar situations during that time, but of course this was a special situation. So let's go back actually to when you decide on, yes, I want to homeschool, how does it look like? So for my friend, she also decided after COVID to continue homeschooling. She is a stay-at-home mom, so she basically can already plan her day in a way that to focus on the kids. And that also was one of the main reasons for her to continue. Oldest daughter went to school, to a public school before, and it took longer for her to accommodate to the one fits all curriculum. So therefore she decided, I will do this at home, I will focus. So one of the advantages is really that you can focus on the topics. You don't have, not every day starts with math or with English or with grammar or whatsoever. It's basically how you set up your schedule. Also, of course, the interest of your child, and also for which topic you need maybe more time. Maybe your child is very good in math, so you don't have to spend that much time on that topic, and then you can focus more on topics where your child need more support in. Of course, this is different from at school where, you have 1 hour for that and 1 hour for that, and that's basically it. So that's one of the advantages. Another advantage is that you can plan your school day. And this is also something I learned from my friend. She mentioned basically if you would just focus on the content that's taught in school, the day would be over after 2 or 3 hours. But the rest is basically consumed for breaks and logistics and waiting and playing and all that. For me, this was eye-opening. I've never thought about that. But yeah, so therefore, if you do the homeschooling and you are done, let's say after 3 hours, of course you have much more time for other stuff. The kids can play more. You can go outside. You can also include visits to a museum or going to a park or going to a zoo. So all those field trips that are at school, of course, they are also doing those. But this is probably done, I don't know, once a month or once every other month, compared to what you could do when you homeschool your kids. So that's another advantage. And of course, also, if you homeschool, it doesn't matter where you homeschool your kids. So you could also travel. You're not dependent on the vacations. Of course, this would make travel also more enjoyable and more cheaper. But let's also maybe talk about some disadvantages. I don't know if they are really disadvantages, but let's also talk about items that maybe people could argue, well, this wouldn't be that ideal compared to a public school. And this is, for me, a personal situation. I have an only child. And in school, they not just learn the subjects, they also learn social competencies. So teamwork, how to act in a fight, how to argue, all that kind of competencies my daughter would miss out. Is probably not the case for my friends because they have 4 kids. So they have many siblings. And also there are also other options when you do homeschooling. You could also go into a cohort. So basically this is once a week or twice a week you meet also with other kids. They get homeschooled in a different location. You could spend a day there and also interact then with other kids. And then of course you do sports, as you also do usually when you go to school. So there are options to reduce this disadvantage. However, in my personal opinion, because I only have an only child, I would think she would miss out on those great opportunities. Another disadvantage or another topic this needs to be considered when deciding on homeschooling, yes or no, is that usually one parent doesn't work. So usually either the dad or the mom stays at home in order to also homeschool the kids, which means you only have one salary that you rely on. This, especially with huge inflation and cost rises and everything gets more expensive, this is also something you really need to reconsider. The other item, this is something I got from my friend, and homeschooling involves a lot of planning. This also means that for the person who does the homeschooling, there's very limited time during the day for themselves. You spend a lot of time with your kids, which of course is nice, but you never have a break, right? So usually you are with your kids the whole day, so 24/7 you would call it. And for some family, this is great and this works perfectly. For myself, I also need some time. I listened to her and I think it's very, very interesting to understand why people homeschool. Not every kid fits into the normal school system. For some kids, and I see this with my friend, her oldest one, I think for her, getting homeschooled is the perfect situation. I think it's fabulous, and I really admire her that that my friend is doing this for her kid. That's great, but not for every kid. It would be ideal to stay at home all the time. So therefore, you have to decide for yourself. This is not a decision someone else can make for you, and it also depends on your personal situation. I think there is no right or wrong. Why I captured this video is really, first of all, because I know that for most Germans this is something new, because here in Germany it is illegal to homeschool your kids. Or there are only 3 reasons why you can homeschool. So either your kid has a severe illness, and of course nobody wants that for their child. The second reason is for diplomats, and the third one is if you're a kid of an actor. So that are the only reasons why here in Germany you can homeschool your kid. If you enjoy my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for free, and then you will get more information about differences between Americans and Germans. And I wish you a wonderful day,